I feel like I'm so late, but like green juice is my new favorite thing. How do you? Spirulina? I don't know. Some green stuff. Okay, let's start this video. What is up, artists and movers, and welcome back to my channel where we are taking our love for dance to the next level. First of all, before I even start, if this is your second or third time watching my video, then what are you doing? You know, you might as well subscribe, okay? Join the fam. So today's video, we're gonna be talking about those bent knees, okay? And these tips that I'm gonna give you guys apply for dancing in heels or just dancing barefoot, because either way, we don't need these like bent antelope baby giraffe situations. So in today's video, I'm going to give you 5 tips for improving the appearance of bent knees. Knowing how to find the muscles to really straighten your knees can not only help your lines look better, but it can also help your shapes read more clearly to your audience. So if you're ready to hear my 5 tips for straightening those bent knees, then let's jump into this video. My first tip for straightening the appearance of bent knees is to stretch the muscles around your knees. Every single joint in your body has what's called a range of motion, and that is the total amount that joint is able to move when you're flexing and when you're extending. So some people who are more flexible tend to have more range of motion. However, range of motion is affected by 2 things. 1, your actual bone structure, and 2, the flexibility of the muscles around that joint. If you're already past the age of puberty, then your bone structure has pretty much already developed, and so trying to change that can be really difficult and honestly dangerous. But you can change the flexibility of the muscles around any joint. When it comes to your knee, the muscles that you want to focus on stretching more are going to be things like your hamstrings, your quads, and your calf muscles, because those are all of the muscles that are around your knee joint. If you're hyperextended, your knee can look like it's actually over straightened. So that's kind of how my knees are. They've just always been that way. And if you are hypoextended, then it means that your knees don't actually get completely straight. Like they always look like they have a little bit of bend in them. But if it has to do more with your muscles, then you can stretch the muscles around that knee. For the first stretch, you want to stretch your legs out in front of you and sit them on top of something that is low. Maybe sometimes those bars that are at the bottom of chairs, or if you have a yoga block, or if you have a massage roller, something like that. You're gonna sit your heel or Achilles, depending on the shape of that item, on top of it, and you're just gonna let the gravity press down on the top of your knee. Do not forcibly push your knee down. That's asking for injury. Just sit in that stretch for about 1 minute to 3 minutes, and over time you'll feel that the muscles behind the knee are actually going to stretch and lengthen out a little bit and can help you create more of a straighter line. In addition to stretching out the muscles behind the knee, I know I talk about this all the time in my videos, but it's because I swear by it. Something that really helps with increasing range of motion is muscle rolling. So you can do it using the 3-piece massage ball set that I have, or you could do it using a massage roller, just something that you can use to really get into those muscles, into the fascia of your muscles, and release a lot of tension there, because what that does is it increases the blood flow and allows for the muscle to heat up more and stretch and really create more flexibility in that muscle. My second tip for straightening the appearance of bent knees is to really strengthen your quads. Now, when people think about their quadriceps, I think that they sometimes think about it as one complete muscle, but your quad is called a quad because it's made up of 4 different muscles. So let's go for a real quick anatomy lesson. So the quad is made up, like I said, of 4 different muscles. There's the rectus femoris in the front. There's the vastus lateralis, which is on the outside of the thigh. There's the vastus intermedius, which is under the rectus femoris. And then there's the vastus medialis, which is on the inner thigh. And this vastus medialis is the one that we want to target. The vastus medialis is responsible for making us extend, which extending is straightening the knee. And if you're dancing and doing a more technical style or even doing heels, a lot of times you're also going to be turned out. And when your leg is both turned out and straightened, you're really relying on that vastus medialis to keep that leg straight. One way I like to work on this is by laying down on my back and then propping myself up on my forearms, and I'm going to rotate and turn my legs outward as if I were in a first position, but laying down. Then while pointing my feet, lift my leg and then lower it. And as you're doing this, you're gonna feel that inner part of the thigh right next to your knee. You're gonna feel that muscle activating every single time you go to lift that leg. And while you're doing this, you wanna make sure that you're not allowing that knee to bend over time because it's gonna get tired, especially if you have an issue already straightening your knee and keeping it extended. You wanna make sure that you're constantly thinking about straightening that knee every single time you lift it and lower it. I like to do that 16 times, and then I lift it and carry it out to the side so that I'm making an L shape with my big toe. And after I do 16 of those, then I do circles. I promise if you do these continually, you'll not only feel your ability to straighten your leg be stronger, but you'll actually also feel that you have a stronger outward rotation because you'll also be working those inner thigh muscles. My third tip for straightening the appearance of bent knees is to really reach energy throughout your entire leg. The act of straightening your leg and creating a nice line doesn't just happen at the knee, it actually starts at the hip. When you are going to create a long line, you have to make sure that the energy is starting from the top of the hip and extending all the way through the knee, down over the top arch of the foot and through the big toe. It's important to remember that all of these muscles work together to create these shapes and lines. And so when you do so, you want to make sure that energy is constantly flowing through every single part of that leg. Part of this also has to do with how you are straightening your knee. So a lot of people, when they go to straighten their knee, they just kind of jam their knee backward, and that is the quickest way to mess up the nerves around your knee and just create a whole slew of damage. You want to make sure that you're pulling up in the rectus femoris. Remember, it's that front muscle we talked about before. That is the main muscle that is in charge of really pulling that patella up, which is your kneecap. And by doing so, it also helps engage all of the other muscles around it and can help you hold that extended position way longer than you could if you were just trying to just see how far back you can jam your knee. So one way to really work on strengthening that rectus femoris in the front is really simple. Just stand in a comfortable parallel position and then think about straightening your knee, but by pulling up in your quad, not by jamming your leg backward. And as you do it, you're gonna literally see your kneecap just slightly shift upward. Another way to do it and kind of take it to the next level as far as building strength is to roll a towel and then stand on that towel. And when you're standing on it, you're gonna bend your knee and reach as if you're going to touch the floor, and then think of straightening your knee after you reach and pulling up in the front of that quad. This is not only gonna help you strengthen that rectus femoris and the other muscles that make up your quadricep, but it's also gonna help you with knee stability. The muscles in your quad aren't only responsible for straightening and bending your knee, it's also responsible for helping track your kneecap properly so that it is staying in line when it is moving up and down. Overall, making sure that you're reaching energy throughout your entire leg will not only make sure that your knee appears more straight, but it'll also help to strengthen the muscles around the knee so that it can be more stable and less prone to injury. So let's say you're like, Gaylyn, I know all of this. My knees are straight, I'm extending throughout my entire leg. Why do my legs still look bent? And for you, I have my fourth tip, and that is to make sure that you're winging your foot. So let's do a little comparison. Here's the line of my leg when I am not winging. And here is the line of my leg where I am slightly winging my foot. Especially if you're someone who doesn't really have a high arch or doesn't have a lot of flexibility in your ankles, winging your foot can help it appear like your line is just a little bit straighter. It's kind of a cheat, but like, we all do it. To wing your foot, you just extend your leg straight out in front of you and then swipe the ball of your foot as if you're trying to make a straight line while keeping your leg still. And as you're making that straight line, you want to emphasize more the outside as if you're almost brushing something away from you with your toes. You should really feel this activate the muscles on the outside of your calf, which can be a little hard to activate sometimes. So if this muscle is a little weak, it's totally normal. And as you're doing this exercise, you want to make sure that your knee is straight and that your leg has energy reaching through it the entire time so that you can really feel what it feels like for all of those muscles to be engaged together while doing that motion. When it comes to winging, it's totally up to your personal preference as far as appearance because it is more of an aesthetic, but me, I just prefer how my leg looks winged. To me, it just makes my lines look a little bit more lengthened and gives a nice complete finish to that line. My fifth and final tip for straightening the appearance of bent knees is to practice the feeling of straight knees through repetition. To do this, if I notice that in a combination I'm bending my knees a lot, Let's say we run the combination 3 times. One of those times, I will make it my sole focus just to focus on how straight I can keep my knees the entire time and how I can really activate the muscles around my knee throughout the entire combination. Being able to create these lines takes muscle memory, and muscle memory not only has to do with like remembering the sequence of dance moves, but it also has to do with how you're executing those moves. So taking the time to focus on really lengthening through the leg and straightening the knees can make sure that over time it becomes second nature for you. And that is it, you guys. Those are my 5 tips for straightening the appearance of bent knees. At the end of the day, it's all about making sure that you're really optimizing your range of motion and strengthening those muscles so that it can actually sustain that extended position. Little details like straightening your knees can really make it so that your dancing actually is more clear for your audience, and it can just help you look more professional because it shows you know what you're doing. Let me know in the comments down below if these tips helped you guys out, and if they did, please be sure to give this video a like. And like I said before, if you want to become a part of the dance fam, all you gotta do is subscribe. Join us, you know what I'm saying? We are leveling up our dancing abilities over here. I post new videos every single weekend, and right now I'm posting them like a little bit in the middle of the week too because I got all this time on my hands. So become a part of the dance fam, and I will see you guys in my next video next weekend. Later.